This podcast was produced on the lands of the Cubby Cubby people. We pay respects to elders past, present, and emerging, and thank them for how they have lovingly cared for and preserved the land, natural resources, and bush medicine in which we are inspired by today. Hello and welcome to the Students of Natural Health podcast. My name is Dana Laura. I'm a student naturopath from Australia, and I'm going to be your host for this episode. Now, joining me on today's episode, we have Ash from Biosoul Naturopathy. She's an Endeavour alumni and finished her studies up in December last year. Welcome to the podcast, Ash.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I'm so excited, so excited. Literally, I'm obsessed with your account. It's one of the first ones I've followed when on my journey to networking with other people. And I just love you.
Oh, thank you. I love this podcast. I've listened to a few episodes and, I said it to you before that if this podcast was around when I was still studying, oh my gosh, what a difference it would have made to my mental health just to hear everyone else's perspectives. And yeah, I think it's fabulous what you're doing.
Thank you so much. That really means a lot. That's why we do it. We're not paid. I just want to meet people, and you would know what it's like as well studying online. It can be a bit lonely. So it's it's cool to have motivation from other people. So I'm going to jump into a couple of questions because you have a very interesting history, and I think you have a lot to bring to your episode that I want to delve into. But firstly, can we talk about your degree that you've just finished in December at Endeavour?
Okay, that's a long and loaded question. I even had to write notes to get myself around this. So I've just finished the Bachelor of Health Science in Naturopathy. And prior to that, I did a Bachelor of Health. What did I do? Bachelor of Complementary Medicine. Sorry, I had to look up at it. Okay.
She's looking at the wall for people that can't see. She's looking at her accolades hanging on the wall.
Yeah. Okay. So, do you want to sort of know like how I got to studying that?
Yeah. How did you find naturopathy? What got you interested in it?
Severe sickness, like a lot of naturopaths. It started for me. There was a death in the family, and it was around, Crohn's and colitis, and there was like a medical error, and that was just such a huge catastrophe. This was my then boyfriend, now husband's brother. And what I didn't realize was how traumatized I was from that. But at the time, I've been very focused on him and how he was going. But during that period of grief, I started self-medicating, uppers, downers, psychedelics, everything I could get my hands on. And I was like escaping reality. And for me, it was like a very creative thing. And I was connected to this whole other spirit realm, and my whole brain just like lit up. It turned on my mind. Like if there was one light bulb in my brain before, now 500 had been lit up. However, at the time I was having like a spiritual awakening, I would call it. And I decided to come off of 8 years of SSRIs and Seroquel at the same time. And then my body began to deteriorate. I neglected to take care of it. I wasn't sleeping. I wasn't eating. I was keeping it together just enough to look after my children who were quite young at the time. I ended up having like rupturing ovarian cysts, endometriosis, fibromyalgia, severe fatigue. I couldn't get out of bed for weeks. I was having anxiety, gastritis, SIBO. Everything happened at once. I later found out that I actually had typhus, and it took years to get a diagnosis, but that's like a tick-borne disease. And I lost like 20 kilos of weight. So I'll get to the end real quick.
No, go. I'm just like taking up in you. Wow, what a story. Yeah. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah. And so I also ended up with I might lose some people here, but poltergeist activity happening in my house because of the altered states I was constantly in. And I didn't really tell anyone about that except for my partner, because it appeared to everyone else that I was having a physical and nervous breakdown with a simultaneous spiritual awakening. So I didn't need further judgment. So I did seek help from like conventional medicine, seeing a gastroenterologist who just dismissed me. So I just went and got a lot of my own testing done, did a lot of my own research whilst I was having this funny little breakdown. And then I got my proper diagnosis, and then I went to start seeing like naturopaths, homeopaths, acupuncturists, all the complementary health practitioners. And then I started getting a bit better. Obviously, I stopped self-medicating, got
Yeah.
myself on the straight and narrow, and just, yeah, began to get it together. However, my brain had been lit up and I was so interested in like learning things, but I also couldn't work. So then at the time, Endeavour had a Bachelor of Complementary Medicine degree, which was quite a light load, actually, and it was 100% online. So I was like, well, I'm sick at home and I'm curious, let's just do that. And I thought, I'm never going to get through it. I'm not smart enough. Anyway, I finished it with a distinction, did really well. And so naturally, I was like, okay, I've healed myself so much. I've come from absolute dark night of the soul, I think I might die sickness, to finishing a degree. And so it just made like a lot of sense for me just to continue on and do the naturopathy degree, because I was like, cool, I want to help people with this now. Yeah, sorry, that was a lot.
No, not at all. It's really interesting because firstly, I want to thank you for your candor. Like that's such a I love that you're just like, yep, this is my story. And it does shape a
Yeah.
huge part into why I started practice. And it's so important that people hear these stories and hear that we're real people too. And we quite often have been where a lot of our patients come from. Like, we see a lot of people in the crux of burnout and like the middle of mental breakdowns, and a lot of the times we are supporting people coming off their SSRIs, and I myself have literally just gone through that process of weaning off my SSRIs after a traumatic event.
Wow.
I'm drawing a lot of parallels with your story. Like it's
Oh, interesting.
it's
Yeah.
amazing. It's amazing to see. And it's all really relevant too, because your naturopathy is unique, with some of the other practices you bring into that we'll go into later down the track. I just want to backtrack for a second. The complementary medicine degree, so it was they don't actually offer that degree anymore, do they?
No, and to be frank, like I loved it and it served me really well, but it's kind of a useless degree. It's a non-practitioner degree and it gives you a lot of knowledge and it was great, but it doesn't qualify you for anything really. So it was just like a 3-year stepping stone.
Well, I mean, I suppose it was dipping your toe in the water to see perhaps
Yeah.
which path you were going to take. I imagine what did you learn in your complementary degrees? Was it getting a broad understanding of all of the different types of complementary therapies?
Yeah, so we did, the human biology stuff. You could do the, biochemistry. So there was a little bit of science, loads of sociology about, why people choose complementary medicine, the history. A lot of the subjects did overlap with the ones in the naturopathy degree, but yeah, the complementary medicine one, we did the basics of homeopathy, of, myotherapy, of Chinese medicine. So you got a broad understanding of all the different modalities and a lot of the sociology, the drivers behind why people choose it.
Yeah, beautiful. What steered you towards naturopathy? Was it a like, oh, I will get the most subjects credited over to here, therefore it will cost me the least amount of money, or was it that you had you had more success with the naturopathy subjects?
It was a close call between naturopathy and acupuncture because I was really quite drawn to the energetics and Chinese medicine as well. Naturopathy, I loved it because it's broad. If you love nutrition, you can really focus on that. If you love herbs, you can focus on that. I just love how broad it was. And yeah, it did play into it because a lot of my subjects I could bring over, but I definitely made the right choice for myself.
Yeah, beautiful. What was your favorite subject that you studied?
I loved the biochemistry and the human biology only because it was so challenging, but you learn so much. It gives you this amazing foundation, and all of a sudden, this whole world opens up to you about how the body works and what's going on, and it just thrusts you forward through the rest of the degree. To me, it was just amazing understanding how everything worked, and it really just fueled me for the rest of the degree.
Was that your subject where you were like, oh, this is why I'm doing it?
I think so, yeah. There was a few of those moments, but that was the first one where I was like, I'm doing real uni. I'm doing real science. This is real life. Like this is real shit. Sorry.
How long was your complementary degree? So we're up to about 3 years
3 years.
now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And then you went into the naturopath degree. How many years on top of your 3 years was that?
So if I studied full time, it would be another 3 years, but I studied at a 75% load. So it was 4 years like the degree normally is. It took 4 years to do that.
So you've just gone through 7 years of
7.
study.
Yeah.
You're a champion, absolute champion. How did you stay motivated through 7 years of study to finish?
I know it sounds a little bit uninspiring, but I had nothing else to do. In
Well, I
a
mean,
sense, very driven, but I'm so fortunate that I'm a stay at home. I work from home now, but I was so sick and my partner was supporting me. I couldn't work, so study was the natural option. I was still being productive. I love helping people. Honestly, it's very cliched, but I love helping people. I love giving unsolicited advice. I've learned not to do that, but I love getting in there with people, helping them learn, and that's what really keeps you going. And then when you help yourself as well, you learn something, you go, "Oh my gosh, actually that's what's going on with me. That's how I fix it." That's great motivation.
did you enjoy studying at the institution you studied at?
Yes. Yes, it did.
That's really a blunt
Um,
way. That's a blunt way of saying it, but
no, I
um
love it.
yeah, it's it's
Yeah.
it's one of the big reasons why people listen to the podcast is because, there are a few unis floating around out there.
Yeah, so I'm in Perth, so we have no options except Endeavour, I believe. There was in the past, but now if you're in Perth, you've got Endeavour. I know over east you might have like Torrens and some other universities,
Yeah.
maybe. We have one choice here, so you get what you get. Endeavour was really good. In the last year or two, I think there is a bit of bureaucracy, a bit of red tape, a bit of politics going on, which I'm not really fond of. But the people who are lecturing, who are running the clinics, the people that you do interact with are amazing. I do have some issues, I think, with how it's run at the top, but that's
Like
whatever.
administration sort of stuff
Yeah.
rather than content.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think the content's good. I think the staff are amazing. I had a really great experience overall.
Yeah, great. What is something you wish you knew before study?
You can do it. You can do it. You don't need to be a genius. You just need to be dedicated. Just put a little bit of effort in every day and you'll get there. That honestly, I remember having a meltdown when I first enrolled, thinking, I am not smart enough. I can't do this. And like, if I can do it, I think anyone can do it. It's just the dedication thing.
Yeah, beautiful, beautiful advice. Sometimes you just need to hear that too, like, because it
Yeah.
is daunting sitting at the beginning of it going, oh, there's so much to it. And I mean, you've fallen in love with the hardest subject, arguably, in the degree.
Yeah, I think you get really intimidated when you look around and there are these amazingly smart, genius-like people in your class, and you think, oh my gosh, but that's wonderful, but it doesn't mean they're going to be the best practitioner, or, there's someone for everyone. There's all sorts of practitioners. So don't compare yourself to anyone and don't be put off by anyone.
How did you set boundaries around your studies?
Oh, routines, strict routines.
Like, are you the type of person that you have like your timetable and you stick to your timetable that you write out, or?
A little bit. For me, it was I get up in the morning, have my cup of tea, get the kids ready for school, walk the dog. Then the kids go to school, husband goes to work. That's my study time. Kids go to school, I go to school. Kids come home, study is done, it's gone. And, I do leave a little bit of flexibility. There was the odd moment where I had to do something over the weekend. But by adhering to that, it did a lot for my mental health, knowing that I've done everything in the week. My weekend is mine. So I had these boundaries, and I cannot recommend that enough.
Yeah, that's great. I'm studying with two young children at the moment and trying to work it
Yeah.
out. But yeah, I love that you've made sure to keep your weekends for you. That's great. Through your studies, have you found a particular area of interest?
Yes, I have. And most people go, oh, well, I'm really into gut health, or, I'm really into cardiovascular, whatever. My particular area of interest would more be like the mind, body, spiritual approach to healing, rather than a particular body system or area. That's where I've brought in like medical astrology. I really love flower essences. I love to talk to people about, their emotions and what's going on in their mind. I really like looking at the spiritual and emotional drivers of illness. And that, I guess that might be my area.
Yeah, that's what really made you stand out when I was looking at your account too, was that you are interested in the emotional well-being and spiritual well-being of people. I think the research has to catch up with a lot of it. We know that there's such a strong connection there, but having that big body of research to accumulate around it, it's still a work in progress, but so incredible and so, I think, underrated. How did you get into medical astrology as well? Because I'd love to learn a little bit about just a crash course on how it kind of works.
Yeah, so I guess, after having my like weird meltdown spiritual awakening, I'd become a very, I was seeing things, I was hearing things. I'm like, okay, there's stuff beyond this existence. Either I'm connecting with something else or I have severe unchecked schizophrenia. It's not that. No, so, I ended up doing Reiki, actually. I'm a Reiki master as well, and I bring that into my practice. But then the medical astrology. So as a child, I always had astrology books, and my parents thought nothing of it. They're like, okay. So I always had this interest. And then in the last year, or the last couple of years of studying, I'd just been buying books on it and sort of self-teaching myself. And these were mostly Judith Hill's books. And then Kira Sutherland, who I think she lectures at Torrens, or maybe she was at Endeavour, she was running courses on medical astrology, and I didn't have the money for a while, and eventually I thought, bugger, I'm going to do it. And I started her courses because I already had a lot of knowledge, but I hadn't had someone put it to, there may have been gaps. And so I started with her courses. Yeah, it just kept going from there. And in my last year of uni, like last year, I would find friends and I'd be like, can I please have your chart? And I'll do you like I'll give you a reading in exchange for feedback or something. So I started doing, just a few of my friends' charts, their birth charts, basically looking at, the constitution. So the medical astrology, for those who don't know, hang on, I always bugger this up. So here's a
Oh, that's
better
okay.
So it's like a really ancient branch of astrology, and it goes back to, I think, like Babylon. Like, it's really old, maybe even Egypt. It's, hard to tell, but it's really old. There is assigned, parts of the zodiac rule parts of the body. Planets have rulership over organs and systems and diseases and drugs. So people think of astrology, they go, oh, you're an Aries, you have a lot of energy, or you're a Capricorn, you'll make a really good, there's those personality traits.
Yeah.
There's also health things. So, certain houses rule parts of the body, planets have energy. So we're just looking at the health and physical correspondences instead of like personality traits.
So, for example, like, somebody that's a Taurus and they have their planet in this space might be more prone to having conditions of like the respiratory tract or something like that. Is that kind of along the lines of it?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And there's,
cool.
so I like to look at birth charts to look at a person's constitution because that's with you for life. That doesn't change. And then that can give you a really good basis for how to handle your health through your life. And it's very energetic. It does go into that like old European humoral theory a bit, but it's a really lovely way just to look at people's general health. And there are other ways of using medical astrology with transits. So you can look at how the sky, what's happening in the sky now, is interacting with your birth chart, and that can be used to predict certain things. I don't really do that. I find that I don't want to predict anything for anyone, and it's quite open to interpretation. So I do the birth charts.
You use people's birth charts as a tool, like in part of your naturopathic consultation to help
Yeah.
strengthen certain areas.
Yeah, if they let me. So I do offer just chart readings, birth chart readings as a service. But quite often, once I get to know a patient and they sort of know what I'm like, I might ask them for their date of birth and stuff if they're open to it. And sometimes, I have brought that into the naturopathy consult, especially where like fertility is involved, because I want to look at the condition of the moon. And if there's an infertility situation, trying to energetically, as well as doing all the sciencey stuff, but energetically supporting that person's moon. I do bring it in if they're open to it.
That makes so much sense too, because fertility is like so related to what's happening in the environment and what's happening like stress wise and emotional wise as well. You can have
Yeah.
blockages in your fertility. That makes so much sense. I love that. Um,
Yeah.
do you use the Reiki as well as a tool in your consultations and practice?
Yeah, I do actually. I think quite often when I get talking to a patient and I think a lot of us are really good at identifying emotional blockages or drivers, and then it's hard to know what to do with it. So some people, see me as a naturopath, some people see me just for Reiki, some people see me for both. And when they do both, I think it really complements naturopathy in general because the Reiki for me is like a different approach, and I do bring in a bit of intuition and talk about their energy. It's like truly holistic because I find, some people's definition of holistic sort of leaves out the spiritual aspect. I'm like, yeah, but you're a spirit in a meat suit. If you leave the spirit out, it's not really holistic, is it? We're missing a part of it.
Yeah. I love it too because like naturopathy, it's very intellectual, and then you go away and you take your herbs and you're missing that therapeutic touch to it as well.
100%. Yeah.
So you just did these little like courses while you were studying naturopathy in the big picture? Sorry, that makes
Yeah.
no sense what
Yeah.
I just said.
I mean, yeah, especially in my last year because I'd managed to finish all my subjects, and then last year, which was my last year of study, I just did clinic, which is where we're, working in the clinic, and then I kind of got bored. I think I'm a little bit mentally hungry all the time. And I was like, this is great treating patients, but I'm not learning anything. So that's when I found the time to study the medical astrology deeper.
Yeah, beautiful. I've just seen as well that you finished another course. Can you tell us a little bit about that one?
Yeah, so I did yoga teacher training. It was just another thing to do in my time.
Yeah.
It took about 4 months, and it's through a company called Yoga Renew, and it's online. And I know a lot of people poo-poo the online course, but it was just right for me. It was something I could do from home. I don't have the time to go out to an ashram for a month or whatever. So I've just finished the 200-hour Hatha Vinyasa yoga teacher training because I've always done yoga actually. Anything from like hardcore Bikram yoga to, gentle yoga at home, all that stuff. I've, tried it all. And it's always been really close to my heart. And I love the idea of bringing that into my patients' treatments, especially with endometriosis. I love the idea of using the physical body and being able to stretch it and move it in such ways that gets the energy of the area moving. So I think with endo, there's always or often a stagnation of energy in that pelvic region. And bringing in some yoga postures to move that energy, I think it was so cool. And I wanted to be informed when I did it. So that's why I did the training.
Yeah, beautiful. Were you regularly practicing before you started the degree too? Not the degree, the certification. Like, was it something you were doing every week, or was it something you were able to, a beginner might be able to jump into and learn more about themselves through it? Does that make sense?
Oh, a beginner could definitely jump into the course. I was practicing pretty regularly, like a couple of times a week, even if it was only like 5 or 10 minutes. I used to practice a lot more hardcore when I was younger. I had a lot more energy. Um, but yeah, I think it's something anyone at any stage could get into. Even the training, it's so beginner friendly.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you have plans to further extend your study again, or are you a bit over it yet?
I'm always thinking. I'm always looking for something. I do think maybe it's my own pathology. Maybe I need to just, sit and relax and just work on my business. But yeah, I'm always, having a look what's out there. I'm always curious. I've looked at, like postgraduate studies, but I think for now I'm just going to try and serve my business as best as possible because so much went into establishing it. I think I owe it to myself to give myself at least a year or two just practicing as a naturopath and whatever else I do on the side.
You've got all the tools in the tool belt though. Like you've got lots of, you are truly encompassing full body healing. Like you've got your toe in all the different areas. It's
Well,
really
thank you.
inspiring, really, really inspiring. I would love to talk to you about starting your business. You're at the point where a lot of us students are hoping to be. Can you tell us a little bit about what life has been like after uni and the process of starting your business?
Yeah, absolutely. It's very intimidating. So for the entirety of studying the naturopathy degree, I was highly aware that there's a huge, a lot of us will not use the degree, unfortunately. Not because we don't love it, but because it's so hard to get employment or, make your own employment. So the whole time, my now husband and I were saving money. We have and I'm so lucky. A lot of people don't have, the things that I've been able to, get in my life. Next to my house, there is a two-car garage. Well, it was a two-car garage, just, roller doors and Stratco stuff. And my husband renovated it into the rooms that it is now, like put, oh, what is it? French doors on it. It made it beautiful. So
Gorgeous.
it took years of planning and saving with the goal in mind because I didn't want to spend, nearly $80,000 on a degree and not use it. But also,
Yeah.
I really wanted to be a naturopath. So there was that planning from the very beginning, which I really encourage any other students think about it. Think about where you want to go and start planning now, whether it's building something or creating a room in your house or it's talking to other practitioners who might hire you, whatever it is. Yeah, so we had this place built by the end of last year. I went off and got married in January, came back, and then just my job became starting the business. And I'm so lucky. I don't have to work any other job. My husband does support us, and I know most people aren't in that position.
Yeah.
I just spent the rest of this year like learning how to start a business, learning how to make a web page. I do it all myself. I don't really pay for anyone else to do it. Yeah.
So just for clarification for anybody that doesn't know who you are, you've started a business from your home and you have a
Yeah.
beautiful purple office, my favorite. And so is it 2 rooms, is it?
Yeah, 3. Well, there's a toilet, like a bathroom, and then there's a front area, which is like a waiting area. And then the room I'm in now, which is my consulting room, with, the herbs and the books and my, chair and table and stuff.
The beautiful bit we're all Pinteresting and, and on our vision board.
Yeah, yeah.
How long would you say the process took from like the first step of starting the business to getting your first client?
Honestly, 3 to 4 months. I had to get council approval to even operate a business, which, I didn't realize. And obviously I got the approval, but there were so many things and it ticked me off so much. There was so many little things that you don't think about, like, oh, how am I going to take payment? What system am I going to use? Then you got to order all your stuff and you want all the stuff, you want all the herbs, but it costs money. So maybe you have to wait until next month till you're paid. And honestly, it took me 3 to 4 months before I got started. And even now, I'm where are we in September? I probably only got started in March, April. I'm only seeing maybe 2 patients a week, and I'm actually really happy with that progress because you can have everything ready to go and a whiz bang setup, and it doesn't mean that anyone's going to come to your door. So the next thing was advertising, which was really interesting because I get no business off of Instagram. I love my Instagram and it's fun, but I get no business from it, no interest. And it's been the doing talks at a local yoga studio. I'm very friendly with the local pharmacist. He has my cards, putting up posters. I've bought some advertising on a bin nearby. It's the local stuff and getting talking that has been the best advertising. And
Oh,
Google helps a little bit. Actually, Google, getting yourself rated well on Google by knowing how to do SEO and stuff like that really, really helps because people Google search everything, as you know.
yeah. Thank you. That's great advice for people. Sitting in your chair now, is it how you imagined it was going to be when you were in your studies and you were aspiring to get there?
Yes, actually, yeah. I had a pretty clear vision of what I wanted, and I never let that out of my mind. And for some people it might sound goofy, but I would manifest it in my mind. I would focus on it, I would think on it, I would take practical actions towards it. And my partner was really aligned with it as well, which, is probably why I'm here. But yeah, no, I knew exactly what I wanted and just went after it.
It sounds like your support as well has been one of the biggest reasons why you were able to keep going and end up where you're at
Everything.
now.
Yes. Yes, and I completely understand not everyone is in my position. If it wasn't for my husband, I would not be here in this position. Like, honestly, I can't say it was all me. I was at the front, but he was the thing pushing me from behind.
Shout out to husband. Good job.
Yeah. He
Oh,
built everything. He did it. He's in IT. He built this, like he did
wow.
everything.
What a
Yeah.
testament. What has been one of your most favorite opportunities that have shown up for you since starting this journey to where you're at now?
Honestly, it's just connecting with other people. To me, I can be such a hermit, and this has forced me to go out into the world and connect with people. And it has actually brought me a lot of joy and hope and encouragement. And I think to me, that's the most valuable, the best opportunity that I could get. Being really authentic in your practice and sticking to what you want to do. I had a couple of people suggest to me, don't do Reiki, don't bring in medical astrology, just focus on something very mainstream because you're going to put off a lot of people. And I really struggled with that because it's true. Some people are going to look at what I offer and go, oh my gosh, no way. Like, what a weirdo. It's not evidence-based. And I get that. And I really struggled with that, especially through uni. I think a lot of the time when you're around others, you're comparing constantly and going, well, they're doing this and they're doing this, and should I do that? Be authentic to what you want to offer. I'm an absolute kook, and I've stuck with it, and I feel good in myself, and I'm slowly attracting people who resonate with that. So I think if I could give anyone like a message, is just be authentic and do what you want to do, and the right people will find you.
You're so right. When you're operating on a vibration of following your path that you're supposed to be on, God, universe, whatever you want to call it, will make things align and draw the right people to you. So I
Yeah.
love that. So where can people find you if they want to see more of you, and they need to find out, and they need to look at the beautiful clinic that you've set up, and they need to find out about astrology and have their birth chart looked at? Where can they find you?
On socials, I'm mostly just on Instagram. I do have a Facebook. I barely look at it, Facebook, and I don't really vibe that much. So biosoul.naturopathy on Instagram. And then my website is biosoulnaturopathy.com. So that's BIOSOUL naturopathy. So my website or my Instagram is probably the best place to find me.
Fantastic. I will link all of it in the description as well so people can find you very easily. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Oh my gosh, it was an absolute honor. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate it if you've made it this far. If you like the interview and you like what I do, please rate and follow the podcast on your chosen listening provider, as it not only notifies you of new episodes, but it also helps with my visibility on the platforms. If you're interested in being featured on the podcast, I've streamlined the process by creating a contact form on my website where you can say hi and let me know that you're interested. All of my social media accounts are linked there as well on my website. As always, I'll link everything in the description that was spoken about on today's episode. Thanks again for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye.